The mad genius did it again. A breathtaking theatrical experience with its downside too, but there's so much to love and admire. This Kannada film shows us the possibilities of stories we can tell in Indian cinema. The whole universe came together, the timing of everything. A creator who wanted to tell the story at the right time, at the right place, with the right people, with the right budget, and everything just fits perfectly. That's nothing short of divine. Let's talk about it. Hello guys, I'm Nona Prince, and today talking about the pan-Indian film from Kannada cinema, Kantara Chapter 1, written and directed by Rishab Shetty. Now the biggest question since this film was announced was, is it just a cash grab? The first one worked, let's make more of these. And the answer to that is no, a big no. With this film, they definitely raised the scale, make it more appealing, make it more huge for bigger audiences, but they justify it. That's more important. The first Kantara film was just a glimpse. The first film had that commercial elements, there was humor, there was action, there was a lot of drama, there was a romance angle also, and all of it was just elevated to the next level by that climax. And I feel that has become the only attribute of that film, but that's not the case at all. The themes that film explode, talking about the indigenous people, the tribal communities, their right to their land, how it gets encroached in the name of development, the corruption around it, the greed the people in power have, and it showed that nature always balances it. The Dev of the land and the people comes to settle the score. Because of the acceptance of the audiences, Rishab Shetty just went all in with Kantara Chapter 1. In this film, we go 1,000 years back to see how it all started. And again, through this film, he celebrates his culture, his land, his people, the myth, the folklore, the devotion. And it almost comes off as a chapter of history because that's how well they do it. You get teleported to that time. He blends the commercial storytelling with mythology and folklore, making it a grand telling of the story. It's not just the big and huge sets. They make it come alive with the production value, with the props, with the tools, with the costumes, with the crowd work. He actually went back to his village and shot the whole film there. He created all these sets, everything there, giving jobs to the people living there. And all of it adds to the film. You can see it. You believe the tribals live in the forest. You believe there is this kingdom. You believe this port exists. There's a whole town around it. And there are multiple action set pieces which are not just about the action. There's a whole chase sequence in the city where they're just destroying it. And I have not seen anything like that in Indian cinema at that scale. And when you say scale, it's not just, CGI and VFX green screen. No, they build a whole town and we see that in detail. There's an action scene in a forest which is unique. There's a full-on battle war scene. The way the action is designed, the fighting style, the moves they use, they look so unique. I'm sure all of it comes from the culture. Some of the visuals they create are just insane. Cinematographer Arvind Kashyap captures the visuals so beautifully. The way they have used fire and amber throughout, it's just visually stunning. Now they were quite ambitious with this film, and with that comes some downsides. In some sequences there is clumsiness. You can notice the wire work that has gone behind it. Some movements do feel unnatural and it is uneven throughout. Some of the stuff is just superb, but then some is just below par. Now I need to talk about the CGI of the animals. Oh my god. I can easily say it is one of the best I've seen in Indian cinema. Like, it is just superb, it is flawless. But then again, when you come to the VFX work, it is quite rough. Some sequences don't look that good, the compositing is off, there are artificial camera movements which are added which throw you off. But then again, with the climax, they do something so insane, I was just mind blown. So overall it is a mixed bag. But the thing is, even when it's not done that well, I still appreciate the ambition and the attempt. Because the thing is, what they're trying to do is not bad. It's just that they're limited in what they can do. It's the execution that falters, but not the idea. The idea is still the hero. Now, whole idea of this film is to answer all the questions we have. The mystery behind Dev. What's the myth? What's the legend? How it all really happened? The mysticism around it. And you expect to find all the answers by the end, but that's not the case. It actually leaves you with more questions. And that's where a lot of problems arise. And the first one is quite technical. The sound mixing of this film. I saw the Hindi version and it's totally off. First I thought maybe it's just my theater, but when I shared that on social media, a lot of people are saying that in different languages, different versions, they're facing the same issue. That the dialogues are getting overpowered by the music and the sound effects. And that's the case throughout. It almost felt like by mistake they lowered the volume and then rendered the film. The sound in Kantara is so important. There's a whole video essay by Longlist Cinema about it. And I appreciate sound and music in this film also. The ambience of the forest, the kingdom. They've done so much work, but all of it is just overpowering the dialogue. I cannot even hear it properly. Especially at the start where so much information is given to us. I have to say even the Hindi dubbing is quite ordinary. Now in the first film as well as this one, the sequences where Bhutakula is performed, doesn't matter which language you're watching, the dialogue is always spoken in Tulu. And I like that they don't change that according to the language the film is in. That stays constant throughout. And that's a really nice touch. And actually narrative wise, you don't need to know what is being said. Visually also you understand what's going on. But they do translate it on screen in Hindi subtitles. That too so small. Like I literally had to go ahead and try to read it. And if they're providing it, I'm guessing there is context context in it which I want to know, but they just made it too hard to understand. And these things really hamper the experience you want to have. I have tagged the makers on Twitter, hopefully they correct it as soon as possible. Now coming to the tone of the film, it may work for you or may not. It really depends, because the comedy in the film is quite slapsticky, which they really blended well in the first film. And even this film, the humor, the jokes are really good. Rishab Shetty is actually really good with humor. He has a really good comic timing as a director, and he does it in such innovative ways. There's one sequence where he combines music, flashback and action together and make you laugh, and it's really good. But it makes you wonder, can this scene exist in this world? Because you're watching a period action drama and you expect it to be more serious, but the humor comes in a very unexpected way, which is fun, which is good, but at moments it also downplays the seriousness of the situation. Like even in a war sequence which is supposed to be very angry, they add a joke in that too. And I felt watching this film that this tone difference actually does disservice to some of the plot lines in the film, because you don't take them that seriously. Now this is not at all wrong. It is a stylistic choice of the makers, and the good thing is that they're consistent with it throughout. Now if we talk about the screenplay, the first film was very focused. We had a group of friends, we had the landlord, we had the police inspector working for the forest department, and everything was happening between them. It was all interlinked. But I feel with chapter 1, the screenplay is very overstuffed because they are trying to do too many things. Like literally we start the film with the exposition dump. There's so much packed in that even the 3-hour long runtime is not enough. And because of that, so many plot points feel rushed. Like there is no enough breathing space between moments. Thing A happens and directly thing B happens. There's no process between that two scenes. And because of that, the pacing also suffers. There's some randomness in the screenplay and there's no clear flow. Even with the editing, the interval block was good, but I felt like there's a whole sequence in the second half which actually should have been the interval block. And the way that sequence ends also, it felt like an interval. And the story has a lot of moving parts. We have one tribe, then we have a king and his kingdom, then we have another tribe, then we also have the mystery to solve. And by the end, all of it is wrapped up really well, but it's not fully satisfying. And these are some of the shortcomings for the ambition of the film. But again, as I said, the ambition itself is so praiseworthy, and we have to talk about Rishab Shetty. What this man has pulled off is nothing short of an achievement, especially when you know the context and behind the scenes how they made it. But when you talk about great piece of cinema, the context should not matter. It should be great irrespective. And I feel this film fell behind in that aspect. But he gave his all, not just as a writer and director, but also as an actor. He literally bulked up for this role. The physicality he added to the film, it needed it. And we know how much he gives in when he gets possessed. And in this film, he took it to the next level. Now, a big thing Rishab Shetty does with his writing is that he creates more characters which are interesting. It's not just about the hero. There are multiple people surrounding him which he gives enough attention to. And they get that screen time. Being the lead character as well as directing the film, he needs to create these characters and story arcs. The whole film cannot be just on him. But the screenplay problem hampers it again. It becomes too rushed. Many characters and actors don't get justice. Like some of the actors could have side arcs which would be more memorable, but again, there was no time. All the actors did a really good job. But talking about the main cast, Gulshan Devaiya as the main villain, he's so talented, but I don't think this film could utilize that. Jairam as the king didn't land for me. Nothing wrong with his performance, but I think the role demanded someone else. But talking about Rukmini Vasant, oh my god, she got a dream role to play. To shine when Rishab Shetty is next to you is really special. A big shout out to the producers, Hombale Films. They have been such a good production house, giving freedom to their storytellers, and they totally invest in the visions and they get the results. There's so much to talk about this film that we'll be discussing about this film for a long time. I cannot wait to get into the spoilers. Kantara chapter 1 is not perfect, but I loved it. But this Kannada film is perfect and I loved it too. Check out my Su From So review here to let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I will see you next time.